Hello, is this the SPCA?
Yes, how can I help you?
I recently donated a yellow T-shirt to you.
Uh-huh.
It's an old faded one from 2010.
Yes, it's still here, lying on the shelf.
I'm gonna need it back.
South Africa, Ronwen Williams.
Bafana Bafana keeper Ronwen Williams was the hero, saving 4 penalties.
Comrades, AFCON has forced all of us to reconsider our relationship with Bafana Bafana. After years of this,
Bafana Bafana iyasiphoxa kakhulu.
Iyasiphoxa bhuti.
Iswazini izwe elincane elingange-province.
this is something none of us expected to happen.
They finished third in this Africa Cup of Nations.
People have come out in their thousands. It speaks to how much this meant to us as a country.
But while we've all been celebrating, no one was happier about it than one company. No, not country. Company. Have you ever noticed how some people call it AFCON, but others call it the TotalEnergies AFCON? It got me thinking about sports sponsorship. We know our sports don't get enough funding. Like, remember when this happened?
Many felt Banyana Banyana deserved equal pay, if not more, because of their success.
There is not a single other South African company that came forward to sponsor women's football, and that's the issue.
So it's great that we have sponsors, but here's what I'm wondering. TotalEnergies reportedly gave $250 million to the Confederation of African Football. So what do they get out of it?
At TotalEnergies, we reduce our carbon footprint through solar-powered service stations. We make payments easy and convenient,
so you can get back on the road.
Let's get away. Comrades, I don't know about you, but the 2023 TotalEnergies AFCON did not disappoint. The goals, the saves, Cape Verde, and the tears of Nigerian supporters. Mwah! Celine, did you catch the TotalEnergies AFCON games?
Nope, I missed out on the TotalEnergies AFCON. I'm more of a Barclays Premier League kind of girl.
At least tell me that you watched Sasol Banyana Banyana win the TotalEnergies Women's African Cup of Nations.
Well, duh. 2022 was a huge year for football. Remember the FIFA World Cup in Qatar?
6,500 migrant workers have died.
Climate catastrophe.
Human rights woes.
Okay, well, maybe not that part so much. Yikes.
It looks like oil companies and petrostates are keen on sports these days.
Saudi takeover of Newcastle United.
Qatari-owned Paris Saint-Germain and Abu Dhabi-backed Manchester City.
Aramco is already a sponsor of the IPL, F1, women's golf.
ExxonMobil is delighted to be teaming up with the National Basketball Association.
The British Cycling Partnership with Shell.
Badminton and TotalEnergies.
It's almost like they are compensating for something.
Leading scientists have told the BBC they're concerned by the recent run of new climate records being set, saying the speed and timing of them is unprecedented.
Yep, it's a tactic that goes back decades called sportswashing.
Let Omo take care of the tough stains.
Nope, not that. This is all about companies and states laundering their reputations, and no amount of Omo is going to get rid of this stain.
Interesting. So how far back does it go?
One of the most famous early cases of sportswashing was when the Nazis used the Olympics to do some serious window dressing.
It seems like we've moved from sports washing being mostly about countries to companies trying to distract us from their problems.
According to researchers, when companies sponsor sport events, positive emotional associations can distract from the company's problematic connections to a range of issues, including climate change and pollution.
Sport is one of those things that is often considered as inherently good, and I'm a lifelong sport fan. Unfortunately, it's not just the people who are watching it that think it's good, it's also certain companies that think, wow, it would be amazing if we were attached to that. Famously, AFCON is now sponsored by Total, and not just sponsored, but like fully sponsored. I think that there's a reason that it's at the continental level. I think there's a deeper motivation behind it. It's not just, increasing sales.
So basically, when you see the TotalEnergies logo, you feel the same warm, fuzzy feeling that you feel when you're watching AFCON games. In reality, it's the whole earth that Total is causing to have a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Exactly. Today, more than 3/4 of all global greenhouse gases are caused by the burning of fossil fuels. That's oil, gas, and coal. Climate change is already causing devastating impacts like floods and droughts across the continent.
Oh yeah, I remember. Even AFCON was moved because of flooding.
The Ivorian Meteorological Agency predicted heavy rainfall in many parts of the country where the stadia will be located.
And they introduced cooling breaks because it's so hot.
Ivory Coast literally had its hottest day in January on record during the tournament.
It turns out it was not just Cape Verde who brought the heat. Okay, sure, I get it. Climate change is bad, but don't we need these companies? Also, I heard they were going green.
I can see how you might think that. Welcome to the magical world of greenwashing.
Algae could be converted into biofuels that we could someday run our cars on.
Shell experts are working on a wind project that could power 6 million homes.
At TotalEnergies, we reduce our carbon footprint through solar-powered service stations, and we share your passion for African football.
Wow, it's really sad that Total had to go with a rugby player to advertise a football sponsorship. Yeah, wasiyenza Bafana Bafana.
The reality is that globally, the fossil fuel industry is investing only about 1% into clean energy.
1% is the amount of faith we had in Bafana Bafana before this AFCON.
In short, they're lying to us and have been for a very long time.
Okay, I hear the argument, but isn't it Africa's time to develop our own fossil fuel resources? Like Europe had its own turn. Now they are telling us we mustn't develop our own?
Interesting you should mention that. I wonder where you got that argument.
The Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy reiterates that Africa must not be bullied by the West.
They're telling us to stop producing oil, natural gas, coal.
Africa is still in darkness. We need to develop our natural resources, need to develop petroleum.
Aujourd'hui, dans les pays émergents, ils ont du pétrole, ils ont du gaz. Pourquoi on va leur dire à eux qu'ils n'ont pas le droit de l'utiliser alors que nous avons développé notre économie?
Africa's time is now. Drill, baby, drill.
Did you notice it's only fossil fuel industry execs and government officials saying this? That's because of PR companies which help the industry strategize to get everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. One of the worst is Evilman, the world's biggest PR firm, which has been enabling the fossil fuel industry's destruction of the planet for years. Do we need fossil fuels to develop in Africa?
That's definitely a successfully played out lie by the global north. Because yes, they had their chance and they did it the wrong way. That's why the whole climate change business started in the first place.
One of their tactics for getting everyone to believe them is called astroturfing, as in fake grassroots support.
The opposing groups staged a protest outside the Cape Town conference venue, with one group against oil and gas exploration and the other in favor.
These poor folks from informal settlements outside of Cape Town were bussed in to support a fossil fuel conference. When journalists asked them what the signs meant, they had no idea.
Okay guys, that's f***ed up.
The fossil fuels have been, the major and most contributing factor to global warming. You can tell from the extreme weather events that have been happening across Africa.
And let us not forget how well it worked out for Nigeria.
The environment is heavily polluted from 50 years of living with the oil industry.
I mean, we have load shedding. They have got total grid collapse. What is the point of having a banner boy when you don't have a grid? Shayo.
The only clear, sustainable path for Africa in terms of development is investing in renewable energy. And if truly the global north is interested in investing in Africa, then they need to move their money out of the problems and into the solutions.
In countries where oil is found, the people don't benefit. The politicians do.
I wonder what it's like at those agencies that do sports washing.
Are you a multinational oil and gas company with one too many scandals on your books? Hi, I'm name you can't pronounce, and I'm from Evilman PR, a premium PR company that caters to the top dogs in ethical fossil fuels. So, you cut corners there, desecrated the odd burial site, but what you do is for the greater good of Western profits.
Evilman helped us. They introduced us to the term carbon footprint, and from there, it was easy to make our emissions everyone else's problem. It was genius. So what? We emitted more greenhouse gases than entire countries. You don't recycle your pizza boxes.
We spread the good word to those who don't know better. Thanks to these companies, we can finally benefit off of our rich resources. We did that. Wasn't it Shakira who said, drill, baby, drill? We also did that.
This solar panel has reduced our
Ralph,
emissions.
as you can see, the profits go up. Yes. Put more money in women's soccer. Yes, because if they hate you, they hate women. Think Africa divided by its resources. So come on down to our office. We'll clean up your image faster than your pipeline will leak into critical water bodies. That's an old sign. Evilman PR. New name, same old bullshit.
Okay, wow. I have no words. I think I might need a PR one just to keep talking.
Total are the ones doing more drilling, pumping, and pillaging of Africa than any other oil company.
And they are French. That's an immediate red flag for all Africans.
Oui, moi je sais très bien. Je m'appelle Céline. And France is the first country to ban production and exploration of oil and natural gas by 2040.
Rule number 4 of Biggie's commandments. Never get high on your own supply. Get high of Africa's.
And it seems like many French people are pretty mad at Total for what they're doing too. This is what it was like outside Total's AGM in Paris last year. The mayor of Paris even banned TotalEnergies from sponsoring the Olympics being hosted in Paris this year.
Sacre bleu!
But the thing is, TotalEnergies is one powerful company. Exhibit A. After their Mozambique gas project is put on hold due to security concerns,
dozens were killed in a terrorist attack in northern Mozambique.
The French President Emmanuel Macron visits South Africa, hosts talks with Ramaphosa. Moments later, South Africa deploys troops to stabilize the area so Total can continue operations.
Coincidence? I think not!
Exhibit B. The South African Environment Minister, Barbara Creecy, approves new oil and gas licenses for Total, despite South Africa's climate change commitments. Exhibit C. The East African crude oil pipeline. Total is building the world's longest heated crude oil pipeline from Uganda to the Tanzanian coast, passing through sensitive ecosystems and displacing thousands of people.
Ah, Zanzibar, South Africa's favorite Instagram destination. Now imagine it with a nice coat of oil.
This project is set to displace over 100,000 people. And this project, has already gotten a lot of student activists arrested in Uganda just protesting about it, saying that we don't want this project that is going to affect our future.
At peak production, it will generate about the same carbon emissions as 9 coal-fired power plants. Talk about a carbon footprint. This one will supercharge climate change.
I think the end of the world just moved 5 minutes earlier.
The final whistle, 86 minutes, he blew.
The export terminal is being built to ship our natural resources out of Africa and sell them on the international market.
You do have to think about who's benefiting the most. It's the shareholders. There's this weird thing that if you live in a nice house in, Seattle, and you run a hedge fund, you're probably benefiting more from Total's exploitation of Africa than anyone even vaguely near the actual site of extraction.
This is starting to sound a bit familiar.
Give us free!
It does make you wonder how the athletes feel about all of this.
And shame. I feel sorry for all the things brands put our favorite sports stars through.
Hit hair loss for a 6.
Hair loss affected my confidence.
I'm fired up to try this new spicy, crispy chicken sandwich.
Pump, belly down, pump, pump, pump. The best in the field. Grunfos pumps.
Pump up the gym, pump it up.
What the hell is that? Can we even show it?
The reality is that most athletes are afraid to speak out for fear of losing their sponsorships.
I'm beginning to wonder if the only time an athlete actually took a stand against a fossil fuel company was in a fictional series.
I can no longer wear their name on my chest.
We did find one example of the Australian Diamonds netball team.
Last month, Netball Australia announced a multi-million-dollar sponsorship deal with Hancock Prospecting.
Players weren't exactly thrilled about wearing the logo of a fossil fuel polluter, but focus soon shifted as Indigenous Diamonds player Danelle Wallam voiced her concerns about wearing the Hancock logo.
Hancock Prospecting is a company that's named after Lang Hancock, who publicly made an opinion clear that he would advocate for chemical genocide of Indigenous populations through poisoning water. That was a really contentious sponsorship. So they then played in a dress that didn't have the logo, and then a huge conflict emerged between the sponsor and the netball organisation, the players. It became quite problematic at that point.
That's a very bold move. Could you go into any detail about what the consequences were of that?
Hancock decided to drop the whole sponsorship of Netball Australia. So they lost $15 million in sponsorship because of that protest.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So athletes, they tend to face NDAs and potential loss of income, when they speak out against harmful sponsors and stuff. What was it like for you when you played for the Diamonds?
I certainly had a lot of media training, even from age 16, about what I could and couldn't say. And there was a huge focus on do not say anything that would impact the relationship that you have with a sponsor. It was effectively, now that I reflect back, that's a bit of a silence order. So even players talking about climate change as an issue would be seen by some players as a political statement that they wouldn't be comfortable to make.
The good thing is that we have the solutions.
When it comes to getting fossil fuel advertising out of sports, we have a previous example.
Smoking almost took my life away.
Smoking is exceptionally bad for you, and big tobacco was distracting or deflecting from those arguments to maintain sales. And one of the ways they did that was to sponsor sport. And eventually, the social tide changed against it. Where the industries differ is just the relevance of, for example, fossil fuels to our economy. But I like to think that it definitely starts by making some kind of agreement socially that this is not the right thing for society. And to do that, we should get them to stop sponsoring sports, because, when they stop sponsoring things, we can kind of put them over there and say, right, how are we going to improve or change or stop this industry?
I actually have a little bit of a pipe dream where we would give that prime place of logo towards a certain organisation or charity who's doing the type of good in the world that's productive and values aligned. So that would be my wish come true.
That's a wonderful pipe dream. Those are the best kinds of dreams.
Comrades, we all love our football, but we hate pollution. The exciting thing about this is that football can be a way for us to get the positive changes we need to see in the environment.
Reading being proactive in highlighting climate change. The kit this year includes what they call the climate stripes.
The cool thing is, all across Africa, people are starting to see through big polluting company lies and are starting to fight back.
Bienvenue à tous à la Coupe d'Afrique des Nations des énergies toxiques.
In the words of our white male European CEO, we are proudly
What? They are not telling you their new oil pipeline.
We're building in Uganda a pipeline that displaced 100,000 people.
Surely there are other companies that could step in, other cleaner, more ethical sponsors. And if you find them, please let us know. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and fight in the comments. And Total, if you're watching this, I need some sponsorship money. Ish. Cost of living is too high. Please send some e-wallet, brah. And I'll do anything. Anything at all. Until next time, stay away.
Hi, politically away viewers. My name is Etienne Stott. The fossil fuel lobby is cynically exploiting the power and beauty of sport, and it has to stop. Anyone who cares about sport, its fans and its participants, and in fact life itself, should be calling out greenwash. We need to kick out fossil money from sport, and it needs to happen today.